And a quick introduction of Ashna before we jump in. Ashna Patel is Manager of Customer Success and Support Teams at Ascent Cloud, LLC. Along with this, she has also co-founded CS Insider to support those trying to break into customer success and move up in their customer success career, as well as CS Ladies, an organization to help support women in customer success through channels of mentorship, workshop, and community building. Ashna was recently awarded as one of the top 25 customer success influencers by Success Hacker, Client Success, and Gain, Grow, Retain. Thank you so much for joining us, Ashna. It's great to be with you.
Thank you so much. That was very sweet of you. I'm looking forward to be, I was very waiting for this day. So I'm super excited to be here. And hi, everyone. I'm seeing a lot of people from, I think a few people from Orange County or Southern California, which is making me excited. I think I'm going to probably ask that question at the end, where you all are from, specifically in Orange County, because that might be another meetup. That's what I'm thinking.
There you go. There you go. So I'm based just outside of New York City, and you're in Southern California.
I am Orange County. Yep.
Yeah. Amazing. Let's just dive right in. Ashna, I would love to hear in your own words a little bit of your background and your experience in customer success, and we can jump off from there.
Yeah, I would love to share. So yeah, I mean, I started my, I want to say, customer success journey with a name of customer success almost about 5 years ago in the company that I am in at the moment, Ascent Cloud. But to be honest, without the name, I've been doing account management and customer service basically all my life. And customer success been always, it's been always close to my heart. I knew it from a very beginning on the get-go that I wanted to be in customer success. I wanted to, help customers kind of like post sales. I think I knew that was really in my heart. And what led me to it is because my passion of helping people, my passion to, supporting and sitting down, trying to figuring out, questions of our customers and just, just trying to be, how can I be strategic and how can I fix this issue and whatnot. So that's always been my passion. And I knew that I was going to find that, in customer success. So kind of backing up a little bit, in my company that I'm in right now, I started my journey 5 years ago being in the sales, so sales development representative. And when I came into that role, I knew from a day one that I wanted to be in customer success, but I did not have any technical background or per se, or any customer success background with the name of customer success. So I kind of, it was a little bit of a challenge and I asked myself, do I want to just, apply for CSM and try and then see if I can get in? I was really fond of the company and their product and, their leadership and things. And I've heard a lot about it. And I really wanted to work for that organization. So I applied, instead of CSM, I applied for SDR role. I got in. But from day one, I was very vocal and communicative about I wanted to be in customer success. But I didn't just tell them and that's it. What I did is, even that little bit of a time that I was SDR, like a sales in the sales position, every little time that I could find, I would just go and talk to CSMs. I would learn about, our customer success processes. I learn about products, and still at the same time do the best and exceed all of my expectations in being in the sales role. So I think that was really my goal, and that really got me into, moving up to the ladder. And in about 4 months, I was promoted to be a CSM. Then the journey kind of grew from there, being a CSM to enterprise CSM to team lead to managing one team and now managing 2 teams in the CS org. So it's always been something in my mind. It's not about, just because I've been in this company for so long, or I want to do this, I'm going to get promoted someday. You really have to put in the work, and you really have to kind of like, what am I doing to get where I am, where I want to be? I think that's really the key here. And that's really worked for me.
Can you say a little bit more about now managing both the success and support teams? Like, what does that look like practically?
It's a challenge in a way. I'll tell you that. It's not easy because you're constantly switching context. And what I mean by that is, success and support are part of customer success organization. the big organization. There are two branches of it, but they're individual on its own. And they're different, even if I talk to you about in data terms, like there's different KPIs that needs to be, measured and being to be able to track. So there's different goals that needs to be set. And then on top of that, you're almost, you're managing people, you're leading people. So there comes the personality portion that we often forget about in the managing side of things, because I'm not just responsible for the book of business of my CS, for the CS area. I'm also responsible for the support side of things, and also responsible for the development of my teams. So when I say it's a challenge, it's a healthy and a good challenge. I knew what I was getting into. I wanted this, and I think, but I will tell you this, it has given me a lot of visibility at a higher level to see, how these two teams can collaborate better with each other. And we have implemented quite a few things to align better, having more conversations between teams, having more collaborations between these two teams than ever before, and creating even, implementing different areas in the customer journey. And I'm talking about overall journey, not just post-sales, not just CS related. I'm talking about overall journey, which can then, work well with the CS team, the support team, and also kind of going back to the sales team. So that's been really beneficial, being in a position that I am today.
Can you say a little bit more about being able to coordinate between the two teams? And I'm wondering if there's some lessons that folks listening could take away from whether they're on one side or the other about how to better collaborate.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I think that I don't know, many of you probably heard about this, but customer success is there are still companies. I mean, companies are getting better at defining customer success versus account management versus customer support and all that. But there are still a lot of gray lines. It's not that black and white. And I don't know if it's ever going to be so black and white. But I think what's really helping and what helped when I talked about collaboration is, defining some of those criteria, as in this, portion of the journey belongs to CS. This is what the CS is going to do. And then support this is how they followed up with it. And I'll give you an example. If a case, if a ticket comes in, it goes to the way that we have our process is set up, it goes to support. But a lot of time, for customers, we're telling customers, here's the 5 different channels that you can reach out. If you are a customer, you're going to want to reach out to someone that you can talk to right away. And a lot of time they'll reach out to the customer, if they end up reaching out to the support, then I think the cycles that we have created, we have defined better, is that if it comes to support, here's the 5 things the support is looking at. And if those boxes check, then here's, the channel that we created, it'll go to success, and success will kind of handle. So if the customer is getting a good response, either from CS or support, we have just defined our internal communication a little bit better, so that it's smoother on the outside, but also smoother on the inside. When it comes to just working with it. And then on top of it, we're tracking metrics, kind of like, just to kind of give you an idea, my accounts with cases that are open. So not just the CS, but not just the support team, or CS team is also looking at, what are the support teams working with my customers that I can go back to the support person and get some ideas on. So those communications got better than just, I have no idea, they've created so many cases, I don't know, X, Y, and Z. There's just been a better, I would say in a way, like there's been a better communications between two teams, and better open communications between two teams. Even for support, I'll tell you, if something comes up, if they sense that this customer can probably use some more help around certain, product or functionality, or they have a different use cases that they need to get trained on, whatever that may be, support has a process that they'll go back and let the CSM know, or loop the CSM in, so that CSM can work with support. So those are the little things as gotten better with the changes.
Great. We just had a question from Candy in the chat who says, what is your take on measuring metrics for success with customers? She says there's some hot takes and opinions about NPS as a metric. I don't know if you have any thoughts there.
Good questions. You know, I think when it comes to measuring metrics, yes, there are some. I'll tell you, like if you even in Google, you'll find like 50 of them right now that there's probably, you know, you can take and measure. And NPS is a good one. I definitely, you know, you wanna a net promoter score. I mean, that's gonna help you, but I would say never rely on metrics completely. I always tell this is kind of like my motto that I always tell people, a customer success is a fifth, like it's a combination of data and feelings. So it has to be a 50-50. And what I mean by that is you can't just be relying on the data that you're receiving. Just because the NPS score is higher doesn't necessarily mean that all of your customers are ready to refer you, or that they're happy, or you know, your CSAT score is really higher. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're super happy, because at the end of the day, you might be sending out surveys to 1,000 customers and only 100 of them is getting back to you. So I mean, that's just one scenario here. And so what I mean by that is you have to have a continuous, like the feedback loop needs to happen in several different channels. So I know that you asked about metrics, but I'm just giving you kind of my general opinion on NPS or CSAT or doing other types of survey is one thing. But how are your customer success managers asking, you know, different questions on a call when they're chatting with their customer? How are your support asking for feedback? You know, how is your sales team asking for feedback? What are you doing at the end of your onboarding cycle? What are you doing before your renewal cycle? Like there's different places throughout the customer journey where you can get feedback from your customer, and metrics are good, but it needs to be a combination of, you know, the metrics and everything else that you're seeing with your customer. To be successful, I think that's my opinion.
So when you and I caught up last week, you mentioned that you were hiring, and we'd love to hear a little bit more. Well, let's just, even generally speaking, we'd love to hear a little bit more on your thoughts on hiring, and if anyone here in the audience is perhaps looking for a job, or maybe even they're in a hiring position themselves, what do you think is most relevant in April? Welcome to April, everybody. In April 2022.
No, that's a great question. So I think I might have mentioned we were hiring, but unfortunately not we are hiring not in customer success at the moment. We just hired a couple people, so we're not. But I think I will answer your question. I do have a lot of people come to me and be like, you know, what should I prepare for when I'm going for, whether you're breaking into CS, or when I'm going for moving up a ladder in a CS and trying to find something. You know, I always you know, I always tell people is, first of all, I feel like, you know, you have to figure out, obviously, where do you want to go and why do you want to be in there? I always tell people to figure out your why, because that's going to help you a lot to, like, in terms of like being confident on your interviews. Because tackling interviews is a whole nother monster. I'm telling you this. It's you could be doing so well in where you are. You could have like so much of experience in customer success, in leadership, in sales, in whatever that you're going for. But when it comes to interviews, you know, I think you have to keep in mind that each interview, whether you fail or pass, is teaching you something. So for hiring, I tell people, learn from others' experiences, learn from what you find online, but learn from your own experiences during the interviews too. And even if you had the worst interview ever, that you feel like, oh my God, I knew what to do better, I could have done way better than this, it's okay. You know, you may feel bad, sleep over it. Next morning, get back up, write down all those questions that were asked and figure out answer of those, because you're going to get better at it on the next time. And because it's, you know, opportunities will come on. CS is really hot in the market right now. And I think it's going to continue to be hot in the market because it's a hot topic, hot subject out there, you know, in different organizations in the business world. People are really waking up to CS right now. So if you're really looking to be in CS, I tell you, you know, focus on the skills that you have, and then do a little exercise with yourself. You know, look at all the job descriptions. I do this myself. I'm telling you this, like I've done this in the past. I always recommend people to do this. Look at the job descriptions, find out the keywords, you know, and then find out the key skills, and then kind of do analysis of your past experience. What do you have? What do you don't have? Break it down into soft skills and hard skills. What are the skills that I can learn by signing up for a course, a webinar, or, maybe some of the skills that you'll just learn when you get into the company, like learning about the CRM, learning about the CS tool, whatever that may be. And then the soft skills. How can I get better at that? Soft skills are something that you can get better at even by practicing at home in your day-to-day. I always tell people, it's not something you can learn. It is something that you can enhance and get better at. So that's the exercise. I always tell people to do this, and you're going to be so confident at the end of the day, because when you go to the interview, the fear is always about unknown. What if they ask me something and I don't know it? What am I going to do? And that's fear is always about unknown. But when you know and when you're confident, you're going to be better. And let me tell you this, interviewers are not always looking for, oh, here's positions and this is exactly what we need. They're also looking for how you behave, what your communication style is, how can you handle, even if you don't know the answer, how did you handle that question? They're looking for those things. And also I'm telling you, that's the kind of company that you want to go for, because they'll nurture you, they'll grow you, and if growth is important, I would say that's where you want to go. Sorry, I give you a lot. I get so hyped up about interviews and things like that. But no, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, no, a few folks in the chat are appreciative and saying that this is really useful. Can you say a little more about, do you think there are any emerging skill sets, or for people, even people who've been in CS for a few years, do you feel like there are upskilling opportunities or things that in 2022 are emerging topics that people should be aware of?
Good question. I would say, I feel like I've seen, and I think even after a conversation, Peter, last week, I want to say, I even did a little bit of more research and I thought about a little bit, and I feel like people are really looking into I feel like two areas. One of them is customer onboarding. I feel like there's a lot of people that are there's a lot of organizations that are focusing on how can we streamline our onboarding journeys a little bit better than before. And I'll dive in a little bit about it. And then I think the other one that I've seen is overall customer journey. And I think how can they segment things a little bit differently, and digitalizing, whether it's, you could call it digital touch, tech touch, or whatever that may be. And not just about, that one-to-many, the long tail of customers. I'm talking about digitalizing, like adding digital touch for all types of customer levels. I think that's what I've seen. There's a demand for it. I think even on interviews, people are asking if you have a experience of it, if you know about this. So I think those 2 things are definitely something that if you're looking for, upskilling, or if you're looking to break into CS or whatever that may be, is learn a little bit more about it, especially custom onboarding and I guess customer onboarding journeys and whatnot. There's a couple of books. I think Donna Weber released a book, is Onboarding Matters. It's a pretty good one. It's amazing book. And I think it's just understanding how can you really better align sales and CS when it comes to, onboarding. And I think there's always been some gaps in onboarding, which then lead you to, it affects your retention directly. If you don't have a successful onboarding, it's going to affect your retention at the end of the day directly. So so I feel like, talking, like going over that, how can we streamline it better? And again, you don't have to be in a leader's position to have these ideas or recommend something. Even reading that book and you get some ideas, you can go back to your manager and be like, hey, here's what 5 things I think we can do better to improvise our onboarding, or whatever that may be. So I think the onboarding one is really important. And then the other one that I mentioned, segmentation and I think the digitalization, those 2 things, 2 separate things, but I've seen a lot of people talk about is segmenting their customers differently, a little bit, better. I think in many organizations, all they do is segment different customers, different arenas of customers by ARR. Like, if you fall into this bucket of annual revenue, this is our enterprise customers, strategic customers, or mid-market or small medium business, or whatever that may be. But I think what's really CS helping people understand is that's not the only way that you can segment. When you're trying to build out customer journeys and pathways bring in, have a better success with your customer, you have to add something on top of it. Maybe segmented by industry, segmenting by, the health score results that you're getting, or segmenting by, the high potential customers, or, whatever that may be, depending on the businesses. That's something that I've seen is pretty, that a lot of companies are working on right now. Hey, we're just working on resegmenting our customer base. And so that different types of different types of CSMs can focus on different areas of customers. And then they have the customer's journeys build out based on those segmentations, and adding this digital touch along the way. And then digital versus manual. So that's what I've seen really trending lately.
There's definitely, in everything that you're saying, I think there's an implicit growth mentality of not being afraid of evolution and kind of trying to figure out what the new things are, teaching yourself different skills along the way, and perhaps even figuring out at the current position that you're in, if you are in a current position, what can you teach yourself, what can you learn to prepare you for the next position?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think I always tell people, you can learn something new from resources all around you, whether it's from, your coworker, whether it's from your manager, whether it's by reading a book, whether it's by attending a webinar. There is infinite amount of resources all around you, I think. But the first exercise is always, you have to figure out, what is it that I'm looking to learn? What is my end goal? What is the outcome that I am looking for? Mm-hmm. And then, as we know in CS, then you just have to kind of create your plan, success plan from it. And you kind of, you just go behind it and learn from it.
Mm-hmm. And including hopefully trying to meet other people who are also in customer success. And we have a networking portion to this event that we'll jump into in a few minutes.
Yes, definitely.
I wanted to go back to several minutes ago. Sharuk asked a question in the chat, which I think is very open-ended, but very interesting. Ashna, what do you think is the biggest issue customer success is having right now?
Ooh, that is a good question. I don't know if I would say necessarily it's an issue or not, but I feel like, I feel like I've seen is customer success is making, how do I say this? Okay, here's how I'm going to say it. Customer success is trying to, it's doing its best to make its mark as a separate entity, I want to say, I think if I'm saying it right. But I think the issues that I'm seeing is it's still struggling, because it's still trying to define some, like I said, talked about the gray areas. It's not so black and white when it comes to CS and account management, when it comes to customer success and customer support, or even to streamline what is part of CS and what is part of sales per se. I think there's still some areas where there's gray lines. So I feel like the issues that, and these issues can be like a company, really, like it really can vary based on companies. But what I've seen is it, just to even kind of give you an idea, like tell me 5 different examples that comes to your mind about, what makes customer success different from account management, because what could be something different for this company might not be different for the other company. This company might be doing, their CSM might be doing renewals, expansions, onboarding, all of it. But the other company, there could be, they might have an implementation team, they might have a whole onboarding team, they might have account management handling renewals, and CS is only focusing on the adoptions and, helping do the expansions and things like that. So I don't think necessarily there are issues, but I think there are still a lot of gray areas, because it's not as defined as if you go and look at marketing, or if you go look at sales. It's not as just put into, here's what you do in sales. No, it's not like that. There's so many different gray areas. And I'm not saying these are bad things, but that's the beauty of customer success, because it could be different for every organization at the end of the day. So I think that's what I think.
I think that also, it really helps to do your best to educate yourself on how it is implemented at other companies, so that you can get these different reference points for what might make sense, depending on the company that you're at.
I 100% agree with that. And I think that's where networking, like you mentioned, really, really helps. Is the more people you meet, the more you learn about different, different ways that our people are doing customer success, the better ideas you'll get. In the past a year and a half of networking and connecting with people, the amount of, lessons I've learned, I would say, of just, doing CS. I'm not saying doing CS right or wrong, but just doing CS is amazing, because it has helped me even, putting 2 + 2 together in my organization based on someone else's, hearing someone else's story.
Yeah.
So networking is huge.
And so we'll try to wrap up in the next few minutes so that we can move to the networking portion. But can you say a little bit more, because you've now created these 2 different communities of customer success professionals, just to lean into the networking piece a little bit more. Can you say for you what kind of benefit you've gotten from actually organizing these communities and how that's impacted your career?
Yeah, no, definitely. So I think networking has been the huge benefit out of it. Like not only for me, but I was able to create something where others, people can network with others. So I think that was really the main portion of it is helping people was always something that I wanted to do. And then that's why the creating communities was really why my main goal behind it. And also, it's hard to do a lot of one-on-ones. I would love to meet everyone that's coming to, to do one-on-ones and have conversations. So I think having this community is also another way of, getting in front of people and help working with them. And the way that it has helped me is, and I'll tell you this, is I feel more confident today about speaking about customer success, speaking up about customer success, sharing my knowledge, sharing my experiences. I've learned so much because of these communities. And obviously networking is one thing, but also because of these communities, because I know there's a sense of belonging, and there's a sense of, you've got people that you can rely on. You've got people that got your back. You've got people that'll give you professional advices. And I think, I don't think it just goes for me, it goes for everyone that's in those communities. And I think that's been the most beneficial part is you've got a group of community, like group of people that know exactly what you do and how you do it, and they've got your back, and you've got it's just a little group of people that can help you. So yeah, that's been the benefit.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Ashna. We're going to go ahead and transition over to a platform called Kumo Space for the networking portion. If you haven't been there before, then you'll have to create an account. I'm going to put a link in the chat right now. Creating an account, I think, takes like 5 or 10 seconds, hopefully. So it should be extremely easy and straightforward. You can go ahead and transition from the Zoom link. You can close the Zoom meeting once you've gotten over into the Kumo Space link, and we will see everyone there. Thank you so much for joining. And thank you again, Ashna, for everything, for the chat, for being such a gracious guest. And we'll see you over in Kumo Space.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thanks.